Hello everyone, thanks for joining us again today as we continue to read Bambi by Felix Sultan and illustrated by Gerard Goodenow. We're here at the Caribou Public Library. I'm Miss Erin and this is our chapter book story time. So let's continue to read the second half of chapter 10 today. We're going to start out, it's right after Bambi and Bambi's mother decided they needed to move, right? Everyone else except for Marina had left and headed off in other directions trying to evade the hunters. Here we go. Bambi, my child, she said, keep behind me all the time. We'll have to get out of here and across the open place, but now we'll go slowly. The din was maddening. The thunder crashed 10, 12 times as he hurled it from his hands. Watch out, said Bambi's mother. Don't run, but when we have to cross the open place, run as fast as you can. And don't forget, Bambi, my child, don't pay any attention to me when we get out there. Even if I fall, don't pay any attention to me. Just keep on running. Do you understand, Bambi? His mother walked carefully, step by step, amidst the uproar. The pheasants were running up and down, burying themselves in the snow. Suddenly they would spring out and begin to run again. The whole hare family was hopping to and fro, squatting down and then hopping again. No one said a word. They were all spent with terror and numbed by the din and thunderclaps. It grew lighter in front of Bambi and his mother. The clearing showed through the bushes. Behind them, the terrifying drumming on the tree trunks came crashing nearer and nearer. The breaking branches snapped. There was the roaring of ha ha ho ho. Then Friend Hare and two of his cousins rushed past them across the clearing. Bing, ping, bang, roared the thunder. Bambi saw how Friend Hare struck an elder in the middle of his flight and lay with his white belly turned upward. He quivered a little and then was still. Bambi stood petrified, but from behind him came the cry, Here they are! Run, run! There was a loud clapping of wings suddenly opened. There were gasps, sobs, showers of feathers, flutterings. The pheasants took wing, and the whole flock rose almost at one instant. The air was throbbing with repeated thunderclaps, and the dull thuds of the fallen and the high, piercing shrieks of those who had escaped. Bambi heard steps and looked behind him. He was there. He came bursting through the bushes on all sides. He sprang up everywhere, struck about him, beat the bushes and drummed on the tree trunks, and shouted with a fiendish voice. Now, Bambi's mother said, get away from here. Don't stay too close to me. She was off with a bound that barely skimmed the snow. Bambi rushed out after her. The thunder crashed around them on all sides. It seemed as if the earth would split in half. Bambi saw nothing. He kept running, a growing desire to get away from the tumult and out of reach of that scent which seemed to strangle him. The growing impulse to flee, the longing to save himself were loosed in him at last. He ran. It seemed to him as if he saw his mother hit, but he did not know if it was really she or not. He felt a film come over his eyes from fear of the thunder crashing beside him. It had gripped him completely at last. He could think of nothing or see nothing around him. He just kept running. The open space was crossed. Another thicket took him in. The hue and cry still rang behind him. The sharp report still thundered. And in the branches above him there was a light pattering, like the first fall of hail. Then it grew quieter. Bambi kept running. Here they are, a picture of the forest. Animals all running. A dying pheasant, with its neck twisted, lay on the snow, beating feebly with its wings. When he heard Bambi coming, he ceased his convulsive movements and whispered, It's all over with me. Bambi paid no attention to him and ran on. A tangle of bushes he blundered into forced him to slacken his pace and look for a path. He pawed the ground impatiently with his hoofs. This way, called someone with a gasping voice. Bambi obeyed involuntarily and found an opening at once. Someone moved feebly in front of him. It was friend Hare's wife who had called. "Can you help me a little?" she said. Bambi looked at her and shuddered. Her hind leg dangled lifelessly in the snow, dyeing it with red and melting it with warm oozing blood. "Can you help me a little?" she repeated. She spoke as if she were well and whole, almost as if she were happy. "I don't know what could have happened to me," she went on. "There's really no sense to it, but I just can't seem to walk." In the middle of her words, she rolled over on her side, and then she died. Bambi was seized with horror again and ran. "Bambi!" He stopped with a jolt. A deer was calling him. Again he heard the cry. "Is that you, Bambi?" Bambi saw Gobo floundering helplessly in the snow. All his strength was gone. He could no longer stand on his feet. He lay there half buried and lifted his head feebly. Bambi went up to him excitedly. "Where's your mother, Gobo?" he asked, gasping for breath. "Where's Feline?" Bambi spoke quickly and impatiently. Terror still gripped his heart. "Mother and Feline had to go on," Gobo answered resignedly. He spoke softly, but as seriously and as well as a grown deer. "They had to leave me here. I fell down. You must go on too, Bambi." "Get up!" cried Bambi. "Get up, Gobo. You've rested long enough. There's not a minute to lose now. Get up and come with me." "No, leave me," Gobo answered quietly. "I can't stand up. It's impossible. I would like to, but I'm too weak." "What will happen to you?" Bambi persisted. "I don't know. Probably I'll die," said Gobo simply. The uproar began again and re-echoed. New crashes of thunder followed. Bambi shrank together. Suddenly, a branch snapped. Young Karis pounded swiftly through the snow, galloping ahead of the din. "Run!" he called when he saw Bambi. "Don't stand there if you can run." He was gone in a flash, and his headlong flight carried Bambi along with it. Bambi was hardly aware that he had begun to run again, and only after an interval did he say, "Goodbye, Gobo." But he was already too far away. Gobo could no longer hear him. He ran until nightfall through the woods that was filled with shouting and thunder. As darkness closed in, it grew quiet. Soon, a light wind carried away the horrible scent that spread everywhere. But the excitement remained. The first friend whom Bambi saw again was Rono. He was limping more than ever. "Over in the oak grove, the fox has a burning fever from his wound," Rono said. "I just passed him. He's suffering terribly. He keeps biting the snow and the ground." "Have you seen my mother?" asked Bambi. "No," answered Rono evasively, and walked quickly away. Later during the night, Bambi met old Netla with Feline. All three were delighted to meet. "Have you seen my mother?" asked Bambi. "No," Feline answered. "I don't even know where my own mother is." "Well," said old Netla cheerfully, "here's a nice mess. I was so glad that I didn't have to bother with children anymore, and now I have to look after two at once. I'm heartily grateful." Bambi and Feline laughed. They talked about Gobo. Bambi told how he had found him, and they all grew so sad they began to cry. But old Netla would not have them crying. "Before everything else, you have got to get something to eat. I've never heard of such a thing. You haven't had a bite to eat this livelong day." She led them to places where there were still a few leaves that had not completely withered. Old Netla was wonderfully gentle. She ate nothing herself, but made Bambi and Feline eat heartily. She pawed away the snow from the grassy spots and ordered them to eat with, "The grass is good here," or else she would say, "No, wait, we'll find something better further on." But between whiles she would grumble. "It's perfectly ridiculous, the trouble children give you." Suddenly they saw Aunt Enna coming and rushed toward her. "Aunt Enna!" cried Bambi. He had seen her first. Feline was beside herself with joy and bounded around her. "Mother!" she cried. But Enna was weeping and nearly dead from exhaustion. "Gobo is gone," she cried. "I've looked for him. I went to the little place where he lay when he broke down in the snow. There was nothing there. He's gone. My poor little Gobo." Old Netla grumbled. If you had looked for his tracks, it would have been more sensible than crying, she said. There weren't any tracks, said Aunt Enna, but his tracks were there. He found Gobo. She was silent. Then Bambi asked despondently, Aunt Enna, have you seen my mother? No, answered Aunt Enna gently. Bambi never saw his mother again. And that is the end of chapter 10. What a sad chapter, huh? Well, we will see you next time. Chapter 11. Have a good rest of your day. Until then.